Hello, I'm David Bank. I'm the editor and CEO of ImpactAlpha. I'm so delighted to have with me June Montgomery Tabron, the president and CEO of the Kellogg Foundation, and Jay Brown, the co-founder and managing partner of Marcy Ventures. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're here at the Mission Investors Exchange conference, and we're going to be talking about impact investing in culture, music, narrative change. Let's just get the Marcy Venture story, Jay, if we could, and just tell us a little bit about what it is and how you came to found it.
Well, we started investing early, my partners and I. Well, let's say Larry Marcus came from Walden Capital. He's been a seasoned investor and a banker prior to that. Jay-Z and I were we were invested in different things, and we invested in a bunch of different businesses that were pretty successful, very, very successful. And we decided actually to go ahead and go wider and raise some money and, invest with other people, and also kind of, be a beacon out there for people to see us invest and see what we're doing, so other people could think about doing that as well.
So Marcy Ventures is a VC fund.
It's a VC fund. Marcy Ventures is about culture, positive impact, sustainability. 65% of our first fund are women and people of color. Our second fund is 72%.
Okay, second fund, and that brings Kellogg into it. But first, June, let's just get a level set about Kellogg and yourself. I know you've been with Kellogg for a little bit.
Just a little. 37 years, May 4th.
So congratulations on your anniversary. And tell us the Kellogg story, but also then how you came to know Jay and Marcy.
Yeah. So the Kellogg Foundation is focused on improving the lives of the most vulnerable children. We look at children within the context of their families and their communities. And when we think about how to improve their lives, we look at issues of structural racism. We want to make sure that we're not just funding symptomatic projects, but structurally systems and making sure that we can have systems change so that it is a perpetuated improvement for children and families. So when we looked at our investment portfolio as a foundation, of course, we pay 5% out. We're required to do that, but we wanted to do more than that. So we thought we could leverage our investment portfolio to make the same impact for children and families. And as we think about investing, we looked at the structural inequities within the investment sector. And we knew that less than 1% were women and people of color. And so we wanted to create capital access so that there was equity within the investment sector. And part of our portfolio is about giving that access to people who were being left out of that system. So Jay and Marcy Ventures Fund is a perfect example of the type of investment we want to do. We want to allow people who are leading these firms of color who can give back to families and communities within the access that they're providing with the capital that we invest. So we invested $5 million because we are excited not only about the leadership, but their purpose and changing the narrative around culture and making sure that as we are building up new wealth for people of color, that it also has a what we call double impact in that socially we're making progress in addressing some of these structural inequities.
So both the management and the portfolio companies that they're investing into.
Correct.
So Jay, let's just get into the real world of funds and investment. So the first fund is always the toughest. Tell us how you actually raised that first one.
The first one was tough because we never raised a fund before. We've always did it with our own money, and the question is why are you changing it now? And my question was back to them was, well, why are you doing that? So, I mean, and listen, June said something very important. It's about reach. It's doing it by yourself may be fun for you, but doing it together it's just incredible. And what we're trying to do as a community is we're trying to create something for everybody. So, and this becomes infectious where everybody else is doing it. And you know, I mean, LeJune's very humble, but you know, she everyone that she invests in, they do the due diligence, but it's also taking a risk and saying, I believe there's an opportunity that these people can actually, you know, show and prove, and also they're going to take that money and they're going to invest in other people of color, women, and they're going to expand it, or they're going to make sure that people are hiring or have a staff that looks like what America's supposed to be.
Now, you had a background. You built a bunch of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You had Jay-Z, have Jay-Z as a partner, but you hadn't managed a fund and managed other people's money, as they say. So, was there skepticism about whether you're going to, you know, you might be able to spot talent, but how are you going to manage the money?
Well, we've already had a bunch of successful companies. We're entrepreneurs. You know, we went out and we actually just reinvested in ourselves, and we built a lot of companies that were very successful. I think based off of that kind of was our golden ticket to go ahead and talk to people about. The difference is being an entrepreneur and being an investor are two different things. So people know that you're an entrepreneur and you could build a company, but people want to know that you can also invest in a company too as well. So that's why when we raised our first fund, it was a smaller fund, and we wanted to show people that we can invest and we can invest properly.
Yeah.
And again, what we wanted to do was address this myth or a narrative that if you are investing with people of color, there's automatically a smaller return or less of a return. And one thing that philanthropy can do is to provide that risk capital. And our goal was to bust that myth. And what we've seen in our portfolio is you don't have to sacrifice return when you invest in women and people of color. There's brilliance there. And of course, based on our own business case and the business case that's been researched and proven throughout the nation and the world, diversity in managers, diversity in funds, and people of color actually increase your bottom line versus any kind of a negative effect. And so philanthropy can show everyone else that this is an opportunity for the entire investment sector, not just foundations.
As you say, there's all kinds of misperceptions of risk and returns and whatnot. And you, at Kellogg, I know you've been making a very conscious effort to diversify the managers beyond exactly. Just Marcy Ventures. Tell us a little about
Absolutely.
the broader effort.
Yeah, 60% of our mission portfolio belongs to, we've invested in women and people of color. So we intentionally wanted to make sure that we were practicing a glide path that can be replicated. And our portfolio is performing well, over $340 million now, and the results are positive.
So 60%, just pause on that, compared to what's the number in the industry as a whole?
Less than 1% of money that's out there is going to women and people of color. Yeah.
But there is, just in terms of risk, one of the risk factors that people often cite is the first-time manager risk. Would you have invested in Marcy as in their first fund, not just in their second fund?
Yeah, we would have, and we've done that for other funds. And again, we believe that because of our own level of diversity, we can relate to these managers. We can do our due diligence. And sometimes the traditional questions that investors raise and that, that standard inquiry isn't the right one. And we know how to be adaptive and to understand our people of color and their leadership, their management, and their mission and purpose. And that's the kind of risk we want to take, but it's a very calculated risk.
Let's get into the actual portfolio and in particular the sort of culture as a lever for narrative shift, as you mentioned. And so maybe Jay, just give us a little flavor of some of the companies that you've invested
in. Savage X Fenty, which is a lingerie company that everyone knows Rihanna started. Merit Beauty, which is a clean cosmetic company, which is another woman by the name of Catherine Power. And then there's another company called Babyless and another company called Lomi, which it's great for sustainability. And, uh, you know, we have a StockX and, Partake and a bunch of other different brands too as well.
And what would you say the thread is between all of it? What's the thesis?
The thesis for us is that one is that we're looking at companies that have revenue. We're
Always
looking
good.
at we're making sure they have revenue, making sure they have a clear path to profitability. We're also at the same time, when you walk in there, people say, "Hey, you're just looking at the numbers," but you're not just looking at the numbers; you're looking at the people. You want to make sure you have a great operation. You want to make sure you have a great CEO, COO, CFO, that the team is put together very, very well. And sometimes they might not even be in that state. And some people may actually look for you to actually help them to access those other people to help build out their company, and they're open to it. I'm not trying to manage their company. I'm just trying to give them assistance if they need it. And we want to make sure that the product is good. It doesn't mean I necessarily have to love it. It's kind of like back in the days making an album. I had to make an album I listen to every day. I made an album for the people that they want to buy. But it's just true to what they are, and they're focused, and they know what they're selling, and they know what they're making, and we can help them outside of the marketing and their strategy, and we can give them our professional opinion, and also liaison them with other people that actually can help them be a lot stronger in some of their positions or what they're doing.
And a kind of authenticity to the brand. You mentioned Rihanna and some of the folks who have taken their celebrity or brand from music or another field and brought it into consumer products or other venues. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was always authentic. She so when people would look back in the day, she used to walk around with with lingerie was and like it was like a t-shirt for her. She's walking out. She was stylish with it. But she wanted, it, the reality is she wanted to make something for everybody. She wanted to make something for, someone that was, you know, her size, bigger than her, smaller than her. She didn't want to just be exclusive to the fact that it was, a small person with, that was, and they just had small sizes or they didn't have big sizes. She wanted to feel comfortable. She felt like everyone should be able to feel comfortable. And she did it.
And so, is there a social impact perspective on the portfolios specifically?
Of course. I mean, everything that we've done, Start a Rock Nation is a social impact. Everything that we focus on is about that. That's what we stand for.
We're here at Mission Investors Exchange, so the question you got to ask is, are you measuring that impact?
If you get caught up in the fact of how you're measuring it, then you're lost. The world will measure it for you, and they'll sit there and they'll look at it. I don't get in it. I just listen. For me is that I just want to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. My measurement is to know that I'm trying to do the right thing, and I hope everybody else is too. But when I start measuring, I don't want to measure me and measure other people for what I think they're doing. I think it's the wrong way to do it. I'd rather go ahead and just be the best person I can, and know that I'm trying to help somebody. If everyone sat there and took one person and said, "I'm going to give you some advice. I'm gonna take a moment out for you," you would change so many different things out here in the world, and you would help a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel you wanted to get in on this.
Yeah, I think measuring impact, of course, that can be somewhat subjective. But for us, first of all, when we make these investments, it does align with our programmatic goals. One of our areas of investment is employment equity and workforce development. We know these investments are not just settling at the level of the fund. Workforce, most of our investments lead to jobs and employment for people, quality employment for people underneath these investments. So yeah, we look and we track how they align with our overall mission of improving the lives of children and families. And there is that social impact that we see, even in the narrative space. We know that authentic stories and people who can relate culturally to people of different cultures and ethnicities will eventually lead to what we believe is racial healing and racial equity. So everything we invest in has that social return, and I think we could track it better. I think there is more work to do in that space, but every organization does absolutely see that through line to the social impact back to communities.
Right, right. And I think it's important, and you said, the narrative change might not show up in numbers, but both of you, if you can, just say a little more about what the shift is.
I think the narrative shows up in numbers. I would more so say that I would say LeJune is more. I think her and her team are culturally aware. I think tracking is such a thing that they want us to say, but I think she's very culturally aware about what's happening, where the money's going, how it's being reached, how many jobs are being offered to people, and I think that says a lot. I always sit there and say to people, I say like, we don't buy culture, we create culture. That's who we are. That's who we are as a people, and people want to be a part of something that's unique and something that's different. And when we talk about like, what have we done? Each place that we have hundreds and hundreds of people that are hired. Each company that we have started as entrepreneurs, we have hired hundreds of people who had babies, who had got married and bought houses and stuff like that, and they didn't have that before. That, if you want to measure that, and we made so many people that have been that are wealthy and rich and changed the whole dynamic of where they're going or what they thought they can do. Even every year, us just at Rock Nation alone, we do about 60 internships, and we target it towards kids. I mean, we go after kids that are in foster care because they're opt out at 18, and we want to give them an opportunity and let them work and let them understand that they can do more. And also too, we go and take these young kids that are 18 years old, just in college, and saying, from the inner city or anywhere else, it depends on how they apply, but all throughout all of our programs, this is how we do it. And we teach them. We want to teach them that you can do this or you could do something else. And if they're great, they come back. And just doing that alone gives people hope. I was one of those kids. I needed it.
You want to say a little more about how I love the racial healing story. So just tell us a little bit about how you see this in that context.
Yeah, our work is about looking at structural racism, as well as then trying to dismantle the barriers that people of color and women face as they're trying to pursue their dreams and create wealth for their families and their communities. And in this investment sector, we could clearly see the structural inequities. And to take that on, part of it is providing access to capital, but the other part of that is being the proof point. Someone has to take the leadership in that space to say, there are disparities in this sector. Let's begin to rebuild this sector in a way where we can dismantle some of the barriers to access. And that's part of the narrative. Because at the end of the day, as we show the great returns and the great industry that we are creating, others will join in and they will see that we call it leaving money on the table. People have been leaving this money on the table. We believe that this is an entire opportunity that's not just about the people who are getting this access, but it's about the entire ecosystem. And we shouldn't look at it as this zero-sum game where if we do this, we're taking money from other qualified companies. We should say we're growing the resources in this sector so that everyone shares in the opportunities there.
Yeah. So speaking of growing resources, I don't know if you can say this, Jay, but I can say it, which is, you had Fund 1, you have Fund 2. The obvious thing is Fund 3. So what's next for Marcy Ventures?
Our path is still the same. Nothing changes. Our focus and our strategy is still the same. It's been working. We already had 4 exits, and we started in 2019. We're in our path to Fund 3. and it should be fun. We're building all that stuff up, and we'll have a conversation with the big boss here at some point, you know. So, but we're excited.
Ready.
We're excited. We're excited for just listen. We're excited. I'm excited to be up here with her. We're excited for the partnership. You know, the history and of what she has done, and how she's taken an initiative to go ahead and make change is important. We need it. I need it. Our company needs it. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, that beacon, that light, that she's one of them. So.
And June, just, you know, where does Kellogg take this from here?
Yeah, you know, we started in this space in 2007. And at that time, you know, we were trailblazers. There were a few people in front of us, but we wanted to look at this very comprehensively. You know, we didn't just want to do program-related investments and low-interest rate loans, which we do, but we wanted to actually build an entire portfolio that would show that we can have not only financial returns, but social returns. It could line with our portfolio and our mission, and every dollar we had, not just the 5%, could return good for children and families. We continue to be on that journey. We're continuing to expand our investments. And I think the most important thing is we are continuing to track and understand the impact, because I think that's what others need in order to join us. And we want to continue to bring people into this space and to continue to grow the opportunities for entrepreneurs and women and people of color to create wealth and create great businesses that we need throughout this nation and the world.
So you're going to move more assets into impact, and what would
Yeah, I mean, it would be our vision that our entire portfolio, not just the mission investment space, but our entire portfolio should be mission investing, and so to speak. And in some ways, that's what we want to continue to pursue is how do we align? We must be aligned, because we are here to improve the lives of children and families, and every dollar we have should be contributing.
And your trustees just heard that message, so they're
my
on
trustees
board?
My trustees are very supportive, and that's one thing that is clear. My board is 60% people of color, and when you have a governance structure that is aligned with your mission, it isn't a fight with our board. Our board is pushing us. What more can you do?
Great. Well, I think Jay and you are going to have a meeting, it sounds like, in a few. So good luck to both of you, and thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.